realized that I had seen some of the parts before. But I hadn't watched it. Like, I must have put it on at bedtime, or it had come on during the day and I was doing other stuff. But essentially, Backcountry is this couple, guy, woman, are going on a big, like, several night type excursion in the backwoods, in the backcountry, in like the mountainous pine tree wilderness. And they pull up to the park office. They go in, and the dude keeps saying, like, oh, I've, been here before. He keeps telling his girlfriend that, like, you're gonna love it. I do this all the time. So they must be, like, kind of newly dating. And acting like he knows exactly where to go and knows what he's doing. They go check in at the park office, and the park ranger or whatever, he's kind of weird, but so at first you're thinking, like, oh, is it going to be something about the park ranger? It's not. He gives them, like, a few safety, like, it's like a safety pack. It has like a whistle, I think some flares, whatever in it, and sends them on their way. Like, they have tents, they have food, everything on their backs. So they go out to, like, the first spot where they're gonna, like, take off, and they hop into a kayak, and it's beautiful. Like, beautiful. They show you, like, panoramic views of the country that they're going to be hiking in. And they're very excited. Like, they take a picture together, and then he wants her to get rid of her phone. He's like, this is not about phones. This is about nature. So I don't know where she puts it. After I think they take the picture before the kayak, so I think she, like, puts it back in the car, or they don't have any phones, okay? And then they embark on their, what's in my hair? Makeup. They embark on their hike, and he claims, like, he's going to this spot that he knows, blah, blah, blah. Again, with his, like, I do this all the time. This ain't my first rodeo type shit. So, like, the first day or two go pretty well. They're still excited. And one of the days they start seeing less and less people, they're going further and further out. And one of the days she sees another dude, another guy. Is dude still a word we're allowed to use? I don't know. I don't think I'll be able to stop that one, okay? But he's got, like, 10 fish that he just caught. So she's like, hi. So she starts chatting with him, having, like, friendly conversation, and then her husband shows up and he's like, hi. And she's like, this is so-and-so, he just got done catching fish. And you could tell her husband's, like, weirded out by it. And you're like, well, is he kind of, like, jealous? Or that's, like, the first time that you get this kind of ick for her dude, her guy, her boyfriend. You're like, But she's like, he wants to share his fish, and he is very passive aggressive. Like, they start the fire, they start cooking, he says some weird stuff that I would be like, this guy needs to hit the road. You can tell he's playing mind games a little bit. But they finish dinner and things get a little more heated, and so he takes off on his, well, he does ask her boyfriend. He's like, so you say you've been out here? And so he's asking him questions kind of like that, like testing his knowledge. Again, still full of it. So, she's like, well, when was the last time you did it? And he's like, a few years ago. And eventually she gets out of him that the only time that he did it was high school. High school, these people look like they're in their 30s, okay? He also rejected all maps. The park ranger offered him a map at the beginning. He's like, I don't need that. I'm an expert. They don't have a map. I don't even know how you'd read a map from out there. Anyways, you don't know where you're at. So she reads him to filth. She's like, you effing jerk. Like, you're always trying to impress me. You're full of it. Yada yada. And she's like, what was the point of all this? What was the point of all this? And he says, well, I was gonna propose to you. So then she gets like a little empathetic, a little pity on him. And they just do what they have to do. They have to go back the other way. They have to go back where they came from. But she asks him, well, when was the last place that you like knew for sure, where you were at? He's like, the fork in the road. And she's like, the first fork in the road, the second, the third, the fourth. And he goes, the first. So they have been traveling for days with him not knowing for certain. Like, in his head, he's I don't know what he's doing, but there are people like this. Like, I couldn't put my finger on who he reminded me of, but I know I've met people like this. So they start to head back, and the first night they hear the bear. Like, this bear is on their trails, and the bear just continues to get more aggressive as time goes on. And I'll leave it there. That way, if you want to know, like, the end, if you're still interested after my incredibly bad storytelling of that movie, I'll leave it there for you. It is called Backcountry. It is on Netflix. Okay. Then, so we watched a scary bear movie. We were trying to watch adult movies that add like a little bit of something that my toddler could kind of enjoy, but not cartoon BS, because I can't do it. Like, I save that for bedtime. And he likes horror. My whole family does. Not off the charts horror, but animal horror, stuff like that. Okay. So I went into movies like this because he was semi-interested in that, and we enjoyed it. So you can go into some movies offer the more like this, and some don't for some reason. I don't know why that is. So I went to the more like this and found 47 meters down, or is it 48 meters down, Uncaged, which I've seen. I used to put it on at night all the time. It's like a comfort movie to me. I don't know why, because it's technically thriller horror, but 47 meters down, Uncaged, is the sequel to, I guess, 47 meters down. Is it 47 or 48? It's a shark movie, okay, on Netflix. And in this movie, it is about two high school girls that are newly stepsisters, and they just moved to like a new area, a new school, because the one girl's dad is a underwater archaeologist type of guy. I don't know if that's his job or not, but like, he's a safer excursion that day, like on a boat. It's not a submarine, but the top of the boat is open to stand on, and then the bottom of the boat that's under the water is built like a submarine where you could just like look out into the ocean. So there's a couple of the other bully girls in there, and cool sister and uncool sister are like swimming towards this boat. They see it out there and they're swimming towards this boat. There's like blood in the water, so there's more sharks coming. And the bully girls are down in the glass, so they can see like blood everywhere, and they see the two sisters that they know like out flailing, trying to survive and making their way towards this boat. And just in case you want to watch the whole movie, or just the very end, I'll leave it there so you can see how it actually ends. Alright, the third installment of my binge last night. Mind you, my storytelling sucks, period, but it also sucks because I don't just get to sit and watch TV. I have the toddler, I have the dogs, I have laundry, I have a teenager that comes home and chats for a little bit, like, okay. Now this documentary is not new. I've seen it a few times before, but it always breaks my heart, and it is called Blackfish. It is also on Netflix. Getting itchy. Blackfish is about SeaWorld and the attacks that the orcas, the killer whales, they were attacking the humans for years. Some of the humans were even drowned or ripped apart. And SeaWorld kept trying to cover it up, like, what of the deaths? They got labeled as a drowning. Well, yeah, the cause of death is drowning, but if somebody or something is holding you underwater on purpose, isn't that more than oops, she just like, they were really trying to cover it up. They were lying to the public for years about orcas, period. Like, they were saying orcas live for 35 years with us because they outlive all the other species in the ocean because they get so much vet care out here with us, when really orcas in the ocean live for 60, they live as long as us, some of them. It's like 65 plus years if they're in the wild, and 35 if they're in captivity. Like, they were just straight up lying. There's a dorsal fin that sits on top of orcas, and it's supposed to be